Welcome to the first Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your host, Darryl Wingfield. Um, the very first thing that I would like to talk about is what Purpose Served actually is for those of you who don't know what it is. And also, this is a good time for me to clear up what it actually is. So, pretty much, Purpose Served is an initiative to help people find their purpose, but not only that, take practical means on finding the purpose and serving it as well, which is taking action on it. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about is what purpose means to me. Now, to me, purpose is an essential reason for living, and every single thing that's created or that you see serves a purpose. And I feel as though in the society that we live in, people people tend to follow the masses instead of following themselves and what truly is speaking to them or who they truly need or want to be. And it kind of get mixed up and jumbled with the way our society is. And the biggest thing with Purpose Served is I want to give people insight on how I came about discovering this stuff. And not only that, I want people through my journey and hearing other people's journeys as well to see that they're capable of so much more than what they think. Shout out to Sean Mills at Pure Passion Sports. If it wasn't for him, man, this idea of Purpose Served would have gone on, the truth would have never come about. So shout out to Sean, man. I really appreciate it. But another thing I'm going to say, I don't know how many times I said that at this point. This is everything for me is going to be coming from a basketball perspective mostly. And my goal is later on down the line for future episodes references, there will be other people to talk about their journey, and that's going to be outside of basketball. For those of you that's not really into sports and things like this, honestly, the whole goal for me is to really cultivate self-initiative, self-reliance, self-motivation in people, because if you look anywhere outside of yourself for answers, they typically don't last long, and they don't have the substance that you need to get you wherever it is that you need to go. And for me, basketball has taught me all of this, everything. Honestly, I wouldn't have made it as far as I did if it wasn't for basketball. And a lot of things that I picked up through basketball I was able to apply to other different things. And just to even get it out the way, since basketball is already in the air, I'm gonna talk y'all ears off with a little bit of basketball. But pretty much in the 8th grade, that's pretty much where everything started with me in basketball. And when I started pretty much dreaming big, 13-year-old kid wanting to go to the NBA. Not really knowing how to go about that, but that's around the time I started picking up a basketball. But when I first started playing, I wasn't getting the results that I was getting. I was getting cut from middle school, high school. Didn't get a chance to play in college, but all of that has taught me about perseverance and persistence. God honest truth. I was talking about this a little bit on one of my latest Instagram posts, but I was just talking about, even though I didn't play in high school or college, from getting cut and things not working out in my favor, I still remained resilient in the face of all the adversity and the obstacles that I was going through. And ultimately, I've been able to play overseas in so many different places across the country and meet so many different people that if I didn't persevere and I decided to quit because things got tough or it wasn't working in my favor, then like I said, I wouldn't I wouldn't be here right now. And I feel as though the message that I have and what I believe, I think other people should take into consideration and apply it for themselves. I don't know, like, people have to understand that in order to get what you want, you have to be uncomfortable or be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And for me, that's how I started noticing that, from yet again a basketball perspective, I started getting the results I was looking for because I was constantly putting myself in situations of being uncomfortable, and being comfortable with that. And with that comes growth. And even when it comes to failure, when something don't work out for you or don't go the way you want it to, you have to look at it in a sense where, with the perspective of how can I learn from it, rather than looking at this as I'm about to throw in a towel or the white flag. This ain't for me. Oftentimes that situation is there for you to learn from and for you to grow as a person. And this is stuff that I just now, like, recently started realizing. But when I was first started on this journey, I didn't notice, until I start switching my approach towards my shortcomings, like the foundations of like when I was in high school. That like pretty much laid the foundations for like everything for me. Like, even though I didn't play in high school, I still made a conscious effort of practicing every single day, at least 2 times a day. Just doing what I felt was necessary to put me in a situation where it was most beneficial for me. And one of my, literally the earliest inspiration that I had of playing the game of basketball was with Kobe Bryant. Huge inspiration for me. That like pretty much set me off on my journey of playing. And I noticed how intense he was and how much he cared about what he was doing. And the older that I got, the more appreciation that I have for how he went about handling his craft. And he was extremely tactical about his days, about even deeper than that, the moments, and just really being in the moment and exercising that moment to the best of his ability, to because it was just in him. He just felt the need. Like, that's what everybody should be doing. Granted, I feel as though that's what everybody should be doing too, but everybody's different. But that's what started me on my path. And this is in around 2009 when the Lakers won their first, not their first, but Kobe got his 4th title against the Orlando Magic. That's when I became like a straight stand, you know what I mean? Watching all of his games. Then going to the course later on, practicing like 1 dribble pull-ups and stuff like that. So this was the foundation that I had, and I just started working on that. But it was an interesting journey. The main thing that made this journey like interesting to start off with is that I didn't have the necessary tools and the help that I felt as though I needed to get me to the next step. Like, I didn't have no coaches that was on top of me about, getting a practice or going there, or a trainer or anything. I didn't have, even to this moment. I had it like here and there, but it was more like for a practice or a given moment, but not on a consistent basis. So that's how I was able to build up a lot of my self-reliance, was just being self-reliant myself. And oftentimes I told myself, no matter how bad a situation got, that I have to stay focused on the task at hand to get the results that I'm looking for, and nothing else, like, God honest truth, mattered. And that was another trait that not only Kobe had, but I noticed that a lot of highly successful people they didn't bend towards other people or outside circumstances if they wasn't going to reach that mark. These are like the top three things that I noticed with like highly successful people is that they do tasks to completion. While they're doing the task, they're solely focused on that task until it is complete. And the very third thing, which is they're all just as important, three sides of a triangle, but they're consistent with that behavior. And if you really, really think about what I just said, and put any successful person in place in regarding that, you can pretty much see the common traits between the three and how consistency with the behaviors like that, the results that it can very well lead to. Now, the very first thing, here I go. The very first thing I'm gonna talk about. I ain't gonna say that no more. I wanna read you guys the definition of what the word purpose means. Give me 1 second. The reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. Purpose. So with that being said, if you fall along the lines of something that's been created, that means that you have a purpose. And if you don't know what that purpose is, it's okay. Certain people, it takes time for them to embark on that journey, but I'm gonna let you know this right now. Once you do go down that path of seeking your purpose, once you get there, you're gonna realize that there's a higher level that you can go to. You know what I mean? And once you do that, you just keep transcending. Like, a lot of the stuff that I will be saying is going to be kind of out there, but I want people to know that more than anything, this is going to be about cultivating people's mindset, and also thinking about things that's solely not about them. And for me, the service to others is like the biggest thing, because I told myself, if I was able to do the things that I've done without like the necessary tools that the next person got, that that I'm in competition with now, with like people who been to college, who played overseas and stuff like that, I shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath as them. But due to the fact that I relied solely on my resilience and my determination to get me where I gotta go, it didn't fail when I started getting the results that I was getting. And yet again, it was shocking, but I wasn't surprised. Now, another thing that's about to be out, is about to go a different place, but your belief system pretty much sets the tone for the type of person that you're going to be and who you are right now. I'm gonna give you guys like a light example. Like, if you tell yourself that you're having a bad day, your mind ain't going to be like, nah man, everything's going good. Your mind is going to tell you that you're right to pretty much every single thing that you give it. That's just this natural thing to do. And you need to ask yourself, what are your beliefs and why do you believe what you believe? And most people don't like thinking about this stuff. Me personally, I don't know why, but I get why. It's an uncomfortable thing to try to sit there and figure yourself out. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to come in one sitting and one moment. You're just going to be like, a light bulb just went off in my head. Nah, it don't work like that. But personally for me, I had to develop a lot of self-awareness. I had to remove myself from a lot of different situations didn't. I'm talking real crazy. A lot of different situations that wasn't constructive, and once I started doing that, I started seeing where I was going wrong and why it was happening. Then it was up to me to make the choice to change. And it's two things that if you balance this out, you can achieve results in such a rapid way if you really sit down and focus and think about first where you want to go. And I'm gonna talk about that like a little later on. But the two things that I was going to say was knowledge and action. If you're able to balance those two things out, you could turn into like a monster or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, I was on both sides of the spectrum, where if you have one more than the other, it's going to cause a imbalance in the results that you get. For example, when you gather like a lot of knowledge, which I was that type of person, like pretty much anything regarding basketball, you know, I was a knowledge seeker, but I wasn't doing anything with it. And ultimately, it led to stagnation, procrastination, and me feeling anxious about situations that's not even going to come about because I'm inside my own head too much, if that makes sense for those of you or who are on that knowledge gathering side. But on the opposite end of that is the action side, where I was on this side too, where you're just doing a bunch of things, you're not getting really the results that you're looking for from them, and it's like you're going in pretty much circles, but you're doing. But that one leads to a whole bunch of frustration. You get worn out physically, mentally. It's a draining process if you just on the side of just action. But the balance between the two that I was talking about is just gaining the necessary insights on the knowledge that you're looking for, and then applying it as soon as possible, which is the action part, you know. And for me, this was another hard balance that I had to start, you know, figuring out, you know. And if you were to able to like to balance those two out, you can see and keep track of the results that you're getting. Yet again, I'm talking about like adversity and shortcomings, but I do want to say that that's all, like, it's all a part of the process. When you fail, it's a part of the process. And another two things that I also wanted to talk about was fear and faith. This is on my purposeserve.com, the website that I have. I have a blog called Fear versus Faith. But in that blog, I talk about how your mind is dominated by one at a time. Both don't occupy the same thing at the same time. They're opposites, you know. So if you're in the mind state of fear, where's faith is going to be at, you know. But a lot of people are in fear-based mindsets, which is a fight or flight reaction. And we're not meant to be like in that state of mind or in that state of consciousness for a long time. But we have learned, as with the society that we have, to fear so many different things that's not really, that's not really helping us, to be quite honest. Like, worrying about how somebody thinks about you and all this other stuff, like, that's all falling along the lines of like fear. But like I said, on the opposite end, you have faith, and faith is, you know, it's harder to build up faith than it is like with fear. Fear, it takes no effort to be like, yo, I'm scared of that. You know what I mean? But if you want to do something that you've never done, it's easy for fear to creep up, and it's harder to have faith saying that, you know, no matter what, I'm going to get that done. And I turned into that kind of person where I try to speak with a conviction, pretty much every single time I talk. And this was something that I wasn't used to doing or wasn't doing at all, because I was unsure of myself. And once I became more and more sure of myself, we just, backtracking all the way back to beliefs, and I started believing in what I was doing and having wholehearted convictions with what I was doing. I started noticing that my faith was slowly but surely getting built up. And for those of you who haven't read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that's a great read, and that book would definitely get your focus where it need to be. If you're that type of person that you're looking to find whatever it is that you're trying to find and produce a service from it, read that book. And not only read that book, but apply what that book gives you. Because for me, probably read that book like, geez Louise, like 3 or 4 times. But every time I read that book, it's like I learned something new every single time. Napoleon Hill, that's another person, man, that's like up there on my list. Oh, before I forget, we're gonna backtrack yet again, talking about highly successful people. But for me, studying the highly successful people, I realized something, which I have been having so many conversations with people about this, but you have to do things that you've never done to get things you never had. It's an out there concept, but when you think about that, if you constantly doing the same exact things over and over and over again, and you're getting results that's not aligning with what you want to do, you have to reinvent yourself. And that, for most people, is extremely uncomfortable, but it's a part of the process. It's a part of the process. You have to do it, And for me, I don't know, I guess due to the fact of my work ethic, I don't mind doing things that's uncomfortable. Backtracking yet again. But I prided myself on being a boogeyman, and what I mean by that is when you hear like somebody sleep and they put in work or whatever, I was that person in the back of my head, like, while I'm sitting here chilling, who's out there being a dog, you know what I mean? But ultimately what I started realizing was I was that dog, I was that person. And like, for example, I don't mind getting up, at 5 o'clock in the morning and practicing, putting up shots, conditioning, doing what I gotta do. And also, I don't care about staying up late to do the same exact thing or do whatever it is that I need to do in order to grow. And I treat every single day extremely serious, because we're ultimately we're not here for long, man. This is a short window that we live. So while we here, and you have the people that you have around you, appreciate them while they're here. And while I'm here, whatever information that I got to help the next person, I'm willing to do it. And for the most part, that's why I'm even doing these podcasts, to reach out to people that I most likely won't see ever in my life, but I feel as though the message that I have will resonate to a lot of people, whether if they're lost or not, is to help them find direction. But even if they do have their direction, fine tuning it, because I'm a part of this process as well. I'm nowhere near where I want to be from a basketball perspective, from a personal, aspect. It's continual growth. And for example, for those, like, when you see the PS logo, shout out to Steve, man. Shout out to my man Steve, man, for the creating the logo. But you see the PS and you see the hit marker and everything, but ultimately that's what you're aiming for. You wanna know at the end of the day that you served your purpose. And the very first thing that I said on this podcast is serving is an action, and a lot of people don't like taking action to get what they want. And a lot of things sound good when you talk about it. Everything always sounds good when you talk about it, but when you start putting it to work and you start putting it to the test, you start to say, "Ooh, this ain't gonna be as easy as I thought." But to me, that's the beauty, and there's such beauty in creation. And I'm a weirdo. Like, I take nature walks and stuff like that, but I like looking how nature works because I have a feeling that it strongly applies to how we work as human beings as well. And if we start to notice how nature works, we could figure out a lot about ourselves. But that's from like a spiritual side, you know what I mean? I ain't going to throw too much spiritual stuff in here, not just yet. I'm gonna spoon feed y'all. But I'm big on self-awareness. I think that's another thing that's a really huge key to growing, is being self-aware about pretty much every single thing that's around you. We live in a society that's extremely backwards, where everybody are looking outside of themselves for an answer, when to answer what's going on within. And if you was to do something, for most people that's counterintuitive, and look within for the answers first, you're going to start to realize that the answers that you've been giving yourself have been producing the life that you live. And I believe that there's no way around that. There's no way around that. And if you made it to this point, I'm gonna give y'all a homework assignment. If y'all made it up to this point, I would love for you guys to write out what exactly would you do as a service if money wasn't a requirement, or like anything. Like, if you had all the money in the world there already, what service would you be providing? What would you be doing, to help the next person out, or to create whatever it is? If you have made it to this point and you did hear that, and you decide to actually write this down, or think about this, or put this out, I would love for you guys to put your input on the forum on purposeserve.com. And for this forum, I really want people to put their journeys out there and see who relates to them. And not only that, from even with doing this, I started to notice that I started this whole thing to help other people out. And once I started, telling people about this brand that I have, people were looking to help me. And it was very, very overwhelming for me at first to see, how much people actually care about, they could care about somebody. And I do want to shed light on empathy with this podcast as well, and people understanding each other. Yet again, we live in a society that's so divided. It's so left, it's so right. But there's so much gray area out there. We are a gray area. But to find that common ground in that gray area, I believe is highly, highly important. So yeah, yet again, back to like the forum on the website, I would love for you guys to put your journeys up there and just share what you have been able to learn, or what you're looking to learn on the forum. I want to build a community of people that's looking to help each other out, and the best way to start is people knowing each other. What else did I want to talk about? I didn't think, God honest truth, that I'd be able to talk this long to myself, but to y'all as well. Shout out to everybody that's watching and listening right now. Love y'all. Much love. Much love. Pretty much with me, I don't know. I was extremely excited to start this podcast, but at the same time, I was nervous. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag right now. I'm also doing a video recording for those who just are listening to the audio. I'm extremely camera shy, so to just be sitting here with camera pointing at my face, it's kind of uncomfortable. But like I said, I'm on this journey with you guys, and I gotta practice what I preach. And this is a part of the process of me being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And this is the beginning of the journey. And I believe that this is going to be something extremely, extremely, extremely special. But I gave y'all homework assignment. Just try to see where it takes you and take action on it. Like I said earlier, it sounds good when you talk things up, and then once it starts to play out, you start to understand what you really have to do to get whatever it is that you got to get done. But I'm out of here. I love y'all, and serve your purpose. That's why you're here. Peace out.